Wife's ultimate revenge. Husband cheated with her best friend and true revenge story. The champagne bottle in Elena's hand nearly slipped when she heard the laughter coming from their bedroom. Not just any laughter, his laughter, mixed with someone else's. A woman's breathless giggle that made Elena's blood run cold on what should have been the happiest night of her life. It was their 5th wedding anniversary. She'd left work early, stopped at his favorite bakery for the chocolate torte he loved, and even wore the red dress he'd bought her last Christmas. The one he said made her look like a dream. She'd planned everything perfectly. Candles arranged on the dining table, his favorite playlist queued up, a handwritten letter expressing everything she still felt after 5 years of marriage to Marcus Holloway, the man who'd promised her forever. Welcome to Heartfire Obsession. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. But forever, it seemed, had an expiration date she hadn't been informed about. Elena stood frozen in the hallway of their Brooklyn brownstone, the champagne growing warm in her trembling hands. The sounds from upstairs weren't ambiguous. They were explicit, intimate, and utterly devastating. She should have turned around, should have walked out the door and never looked back. But something darker pulled her forward, something that needed to see the truth with her own eyes, even if it destroyed her. The climb up the stairs. Each step felt like walking toward her own execution. The wooden stairs creaked beneath her feet, but the sounds from above were too loud for them to notice. Too lost in each other to hear her world collapsing one floorboard at a time. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, just enough for Elena to see inside without being seen. Just enough for her to witness her husband of 5 years tangled in their marital bed with someone she recognized immediately. Vanessa Chen, her best friend since college, the woman who'd been her maid of honor. The woman who'd held Elena's hand through her father's funeral last year and promised her she'd never be alone. The woman who'd sat at their dinner table just 3 nights ago, complaining about her own failed relationships, while Marcus poured her wine and Elena made her favorite pasta. The champagne bottle slipped from Elena's fingers. It hit the hardwood floor with a crash that seemed to echo through the entire house, through her entire life. The shattering glass mirrored something breaking inside her chest, something she knew would never be whole again. The confrontation. Marcus jumped from the bed, his face shifting from pleasure to panic in the span of a heartbeat. Vanessa pulled the sheets around herself, but not before Elena saw everything. Not before the image burned itself into her memory like a brand. Elena, Marcus started, his voice strangled, reaching for his pants. Don't. The word came out cold, so cold she barely recognized her own voice. Don't say my name. Don't say anything. Vanessa was crying now, mascara running down her face in black rivers. I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen. It just... How long? Elena interrupted, her voice deadly calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm, before everything breaks loose and destroys everything in its path. The silence that followed told her everything. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a pattern, a choice, a betrayal that had been happening while she'd been planning anniversary dinners and buying chocolate tortes and believing in the fairy tale she'd thought they were living. 2 years, Marcus finally whispered, unable to meet her eyes. 2 years. The words hit her like a physical blow. 2 years of lies. 2 years of coming home to a husband who was thinking about someone else. 2 years of kissing lips that had been kissing her best friend. 2 years of sleeping beside someone who was living a double life. The breaking point. Elena laughed. It was a hollow, broken sound that made even Marcus flinch. 2 years. Our entire 4th anniversary. That trip to Vermont you surprised me with. That was guilt, wasn't it? You were sleeping with her then, too. I do love you, Marcus said, and the words were so absurd, so monumentally stupid, that Elena felt something inside her shift, not break, transform. Love? She stepped into the room, glass crunching under her heels. You don't know what that word means. But you're going to learn. You're both going to learn. Vanessa had stopped crying. There was something in Elena's voice that made the air in the room change, made the temperature drop several degrees. What are you talking about? Elena smiled, and it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who'd just realized that victimhood was a choice, and she was choosing something else entirely. Something darker. Something that would hurt them the way they'd hurt her. But worse. So much worse. You want him? Elena asked Vanessa, her voice honey sweet and poisonous. You can have him. I hope you enjoy the debt he's been hiding from me, the gambling addiction he thinks I don't know about, the money he's borrowed from his brother Julian without telling anyone. I hope you enjoy picking up the pieces of his disasters. Marcus went pale. Elena, don't. Don't what? Tell the truth? Isn't that what you should have done 2 years ago? She turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. I'm filing for divorce. And Marcus? I want everything. The brownstone. The savings. All of it. Because you're going to give it to me. Or Julian finds out exactly how much money you owe him, and why. She walked out, leaving them in the ruins of what they'd destroyed. But Elena wasn't walking toward an ending. She was walking toward the beginning of something else entirely. Something that had started forming in her mind the moment Marcus had said his brother's name. Julian Holloway. Marcus's older brother. The successful one. The responsible one. The one who'd always looked at her with something that might have been respect, might have been interest, but had always stayed carefully on the other side of the line that separated in laws from something more. That line, Elena decided as she drove away from her marriage and toward her future, was about to be crossed. And when the dust settled, Marcus and Vanessa would understand that betrayal had a price she was going to collect with interest. The real question was, would revenge taste as sweet as the life she was about to burn down to get it? Elena didn't cry. Not in the car, not when she checked into the hotel room. Not when she finally allowed herself to look at her phone and see the 47 missed calls from Marcus and 23 from Vanessa. She'd moved past tears somewhere between the bedroom and the front door. Tears were for people who still believed in the sanctity of love and trust. Elena had left that woman behind in the brownstone. The woman sitting in the hotel room, expensive whiskey in hand at 11 p.m. on her wedding anniversary, was someone new. Someone calculating. Someone dangerous. She pulled up Julian Holloway's number. Her thumb hovered over the call button for only a moment before she pressed it. It rang 3 times before his deep voice answered, rough with sleep. Elena, it's almost midnight. Is everything. I need to see you. Now, it's about Marcus and the money he owes you. Her voice was steady, professional, cold. There was a pause. Then, where are you? The Marlowe Hotel, room 412. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He arrived in 15. When Elena opened the door, Julian stood in the hallway in jeans and a hastily thrown-on shirt, his dark hair disheveled. Concern etched across features that looked like Marcus's, but somehow better. Sharper. More honest. What happened? He stepped inside, and Elena caught the scent of his cologne. Different from Marcus's. Everything about Julian was different from his younger brother, she was realizing. Where Marcus was charming, Julian was genuine. Where Marcus was exciting, Julian was steady. Where Marcus had broken her, Julian might be exactly what she needed to put herself back together. Or at least, to make Marcus regret ever touching another woman. The proposal. Your brother is having an affair with my best friend. Has been for 2 years. Elena poured him a whiskey, her hands perfectly steady. I'm divorcing him, but before I do, I need to know exactly how much money he owes you and what he told you it was for. Julian's jaw tightened. He took the glass, but didn't drink. 75,000. He said it was for a business opportunity. Import-export venture. There's no business. There's gambling. Poker games, high-stakes tables in Atlantic City. I've been tracking his accounts for the last 6 months. I thought he was having an affair, but I couldn't prove it. So I looked for other secrets instead. Jesus. Julian ran a hand through his hair. Marcus always was a coward, and stupid with it. Elena studied him over the rim of her glass. In the 5 years she'd been married to Marcus, she and Julian had maintained a careful distance. He came to family dinners. They made polite conversation. He'd always been kind to her, but never more than brotherly. She'd assumed it was respect for his brother's marriage. Now, seeing the anger in his eyes at Marcus's betrayal, she wondered if there had been other reasons for that distance. Other feelings that had been carefully buried. "I have a proposition," Elena said, setting down her glass and moving closer. "One that benefits both of us." Julian's eyes narrowed. "I'm listening. Marcus has always been jealous of you. Your success. Your reputation. Dad's respect." She watched his reaction carefully. Everyone in the Holloway family knew that Marcus had always lived in Julian's shadow, had always resented being the younger, less accomplished son. What if we gave him something else to be jealous about? "Elena, hear me out." She was standing close enough now that she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. Close enough to see his pulse jump at his throat. "You date me. Publicly. We make sure Marcus sees us everywhere. The restaurants he loves. The gallery openings he dragged me to. We make him watch me move on with you, of all people. It destroys him, and it ensures I get everything I want in the divorce. A woman who's already in a relationship with his wealthy, successful brother? His lawyers won't fight me. They'll want this over quickly before you propose and make it even more humiliating for him. And what do I get out of public humiliation of my brother?" Julian asked, but he hadn't moved away. If anything, he'd leaned slightly closer. "Your money back, plus interest. I'm taking him for everything in the divorce, remember? You'll get paid back in full. And..." She paused, weighing her next words carefully. "You get to stop pretending you never noticed me. I'm not blind, Julian. I've seen the way you look at me when you think no one's watching. The way you avoid being alone with me. The way you leave family dinners early." The dangerous agreement. The air between them crackled with something electric. Something that had been suppressed for 5 years and was suddenly, dangerously, allowed to breathe. "This is insane," Julian said. But his voice was rough, and his eyes had darkened in a way that made Elena's pulse quicken despite everything. Despite the betrayal, despite the pain, despite knowing that this was about revenge and strategy, not about whatever this feeling was that was making her skin feel too tight. "This is justice," Elena corrected. "Marcus took 2 years of my life. He made me a fool. He destroyed my trust in love. Why shouldn't I destroy something of his in return? Because you're not like him. You're better than this. Maybe I was. But that woman died tonight in our bedroom when she watched her husband fuck her best friend. The woman standing in front of you now? She's done being good. She's done being the understanding wife. She's done being a victim." Elena reached up and placed her hand on Julian's chest, feeling his heart thunder beneath her palm. "So I'll ask you again. Are you going to help me? Or am I going to have to find another way to make Marcus suffer?" Julian caught her wrist, but he didn't push her away. Instead, he held her hand against his heart, his thumb tracing circles on her pulse point in a way that made her breath catch. "If we do this," he said quietly, "there are rules. We don't sleep together. This stays business. Strategy, revenge, nothing real." "Agreed," Elena said, even as something in her chest tightened at the word "nothing real." "And when it's over, when you've gotten what you need from the divorce, we end it. Cleanly. No drama. Agreed. And Elena? Julian pulled her closer, until their faces were inches apart, until she could feel his breath against her lips. If Marcus hurts you again during this, if he so much as says one thing that upsets you, all bets are off. Rules or no rules, brother or not, I will destroy him myself. Understood? Elena's heart was racing now, and she wasn't sure if it was from the revenge plot, or from the intensity in Julian's eyes, or from the way his hand had moved from her wrist to her waist, steadying her, claiming her, protecting her even as they plotted something cruel and calculated. Understood, she whispered. Julian released her and stepped back, breaking the spell. I'll pick you up tomorrow at 7. Wear something that will make Marcus's eyes bleed. We're going to Oriole. It's his favorite restaurant. And we're going to make sure he knows about it. After he left, Elena sat on the edge of the hotel bed and finally allowed herself to shake. Not from fear, not from sadness. From anticipation. From the dark thrill of knowing that the game had begun, and she was going to win. What she didn't allow herself to think about was the way her hand still tingled where Julian had held it. The way her lips still felt warm from his breath. The way something in her chest had shifted when he'd promised to protect her. This was about revenge. Only revenge. Nothing more. But as Elena lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, unable to stop thinking about tomorrow, she wondered if she was lying to Julian or to herself. And which lie would be more dangerous in the end? The dress Elena chose was blood red. Valentino. Backless. The kind of dress that made people stop and stare, made men stumble over their words, made other women narrow their eyes with envy. She'd bought it 2 years ago for their anniversary and never worn it, because Marcus had said it was too much. Too sexy. Too attention-grabbing. Too revealing. Perfect. Julian arrived at precisely 7 o'clock, and the look on his face when she opened the door made every penny of that dress worth it. His eyes widened, traveled down her body with an appreciation he didn't try to hide, then met hers with something that looked almost like admiration. Marcus is an idiot, he said simply, offering his arm. Yes, Elena agreed, slipping her hand through his elbow. Yes, he is. Oriole was packed, as it always was on Saturday nights. The same restaurant where Marcus had proposed 5 years ago, where they'd celebrated every anniversary since, where he'd probably brought Vanessa more times than Elena could count. The maitre d' recognized Elena immediately, his eyes widening with surprise when he saw her on Julian's arm instead of Marcus's. Mrs. Holloway, Miss, he fumbled, clearly uncertain how to address her. Elena is fine, she said smoothly. Table for 2. Somewhere visible. They were seated in the center of the dining room, exactly where she wanted to be. Where everyone could see them. Where the gossip would start immediately and reach Marcus before their appetizers arrived. You're enjoying this, Julian observed as he ordered wine. Not a question. A statement. I'm enjoying watching you pretend you're not, Elena countered, and was rewarded with a slight smile that transformed his usually serious face into something devastating. The confrontation. They were halfway through their meal, laughing at a story Julian was telling about a disastrous business trip to Tokyo when Marcus arrived. Elena saw him before Julian did, watched him freeze in the doorway with Vanessa on his arm, watched his face go from confused to shocked to absolutely murderous as he registered who she was with. Don't react, Julian murmured, having followed her gaze. Let him come to us. But Marcus didn't come to them. He stood there, blocking the entrance, staring at them with such naked fury that other diners began to notice. Vanessa tugged at his arm, whispering urgently. But he shook her off. Elena raised her wineglass in a mock toast, her smile sharp as broken glass. That did it. Marcus strode across the restaurant with Vanessa trailing behind. and every conversation in the room stopped to watch the drama unfold. "What the hell is this?" Marcus demanded, loud enough that the couple at the next table gasped. Julian stood slowly, placing himself between Elena and his brother. "Marcus, you're making a scene." "I'm making a scene? You're here with my wife." "Your soon-to-be ex-wife," Elena corrected, staying seated, projecting calm even as her heart raced. "And since you're here with my soon-to-be ex-best friend, I'm not sure what you're upset about. Or did you think I'd spend the rest of my life crying over you? You did this to hurt me." Marcus's hands were clenched into fists. "You're using him to get back at me." "Oh, Marcus," Elena laughed, and it was genuine this time. "You're still so self-centered. This isn't about you. This is about me moving on with someone who actually respects me. Someone who doesn't lie. Someone who's better than you in every possible way." She'd meant it as part of the act, as another twist of the knife. But as she said the words, as she looked at Julian standing protective and steady beside her, she realized they were true. Julian was better, in every way that mattered. "She's playing you," Marcus said to Julian, his voice desperate now. "She's using you to get to me. She doesn't care about you. This is all revenge." "Maybe," Julian said calmly. "Or maybe I've waited 5 years for my brother to screw up badly enough that I could finally stop pretending I didn't notice what an extraordinary woman he had. Either way, Marcus, she's done with you. We're done with you. Leave." The unexpected truth. The confrontation ended with Marcus being escorted out by security and Vanessa in tears in the bathroom. It ended with Elena's picture ending up on 3 gossip blogs by the time they left the restaurant. It ended with Julian taking her back to his penthouse instead of the hotel, because if Marcus shows up drunk and angry, which he will, I want to be there. It should have been a victory. It should have felt good. But as Elena stood in Julian's immaculate living room, looking out at the New York skyline, all she felt was tired. Tired and confused and dangerously close to crying for the first time since the betrayal. "Hey." Julian's hand was gentle on her shoulder. "You okay?" "I don't know," Elena admitted. "This was supposed to feel better. Hurting him. Watching him suffer. But all I feel is empty. That's because revenge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Julian turned her to face him, and there was something in his eyes that made her breath catch. "Elena, I need to tell you something." "Don't." She knew what he was going to say, could feel it in the air between them, and she wasn't ready. Wasn't ready to complicate this further, to risk her heart again, to turn strategy into something real. "I have to." His hands framed her face with such tenderness that tears finally spilled down her cheeks. "I've been in love with you since the day Marcus brought you home to meet the family. For 5 years, I've watched you smile at him, watched you love him, watched you build a life with him, and I've hated myself for wishing it was me, for hoping he'd mess up, for being grateful when you called me last night, even though I knew you were in pain." "Julian, stop. I'm not using you for revenge, Elena. I'm not doing this to hurt Marcus, even though, God knows, he deserves it. I'm doing this because for the first time in 5 years, I have a chance. A chance to show you what you deserve, what real love looks like, what it feels like to be with someone who sees you, all of you, and loves every broken, beautiful piece." "This is crazy," Elena whispered. But she didn't move away. "We barely know each other. This is all strategy and anger and attraction that's been buried for 5 years, and connection that we've both been afraid to acknowledge, and chemistry that's been obvious to everyone except maybe us." Julian wiped away her tears with his thumbs. "I know you're not ready. I know you need time to heal, to figure out who you are without Marcus. I'm not asking you to love me back. Not yet. I'm just asking you to let this be real. To let yourself feel something other than anger and hurt. To let me show you what you're worth. The choice. Elena should have said no. Should have pulled away, maintained the boundaries, kept this as the revenge plot it was supposed to be. But standing there in Julian's arms, seeing the truth in his eyes, feeling the way her heart was responding despite everything, she realized something terrifying. She was falling for him too. Maybe had been falling for him longer than she wanted to admit. Maybe all those carefully maintained distances hadn't been about respect for her marriage, but about protecting her heart from something that felt too big, too intense, too right to be allowed. If we do this, she said slowly, if we make this real, we can't go back. This stops being revenge and starts being something else. Something that might hurt worse than what Marcus did if it doesn't work out. I know. And I'm not whole right now. I'm broken and angry, and I don't know if I can trust love again. I don't know if I can be what you need. You already are. Julian's forehead touched hers, and Elena felt something in her chest crack open, felt 5 years of suppressed longing and 2 days of pain and a lifetime of loneliness all collide into something that might have been healing, or might have been hope, or might have been the most dangerous thing she'd ever felt. Kiss me, she whispered, and Julian didn't hesitate. The kiss was nothing like revenge. It wasn't calculated or strategic or cold. It was fire and need, and something that felt terrifyingly like coming home. It was Julian's hands in her hair, Elena's fingers gripping his shirt, 5 years of wanting breaking free all at once. It was desperate and gentle and consuming, and when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena knew that everything had changed. I love you, Julian said against her lips. I've loved you for so long, Elena, and I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that not all men are like my brother. That some promises are kept, that some love stories don't end in betrayal. What if I break your heart? Elena asked, because she needed him to understand that she wasn't the same woman who'd walked down the aisle 5 years ago. She was harder now, more damaged, maybe beyond repair. Then you break my heart. Julian kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips again with such reverence that more tears fell. But you're worth the risk. You've always been worth the risk. The new beginning. 3 months later, Elena stood in family court, Julian beside her, as the judge finalized her divorce from Marcus. Vanessa wasn't there. Apparently, she'd left Marcus 2 weeks after the restaurant incident when she discovered the same gambling debts and lies that Elena had uncovered. Marcus sat alone on the other side of the courtroom, looking smaller somehow, diminished. Elena had gotten everything, the brownstone, the savings, even Julian's money back with interest, just as promised. But looking at Marcus now, she didn't feel victorious. She felt free. You really love him, don't you? Marcus asked as they filed out of the courthouse. It wasn't angry, just resigned, maybe even a little awed. Yes, Elena said simply. I really do. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For everything, you deserved better. I know. And now I have it. Julian was waiting for her on the courthouse steps, and when Elena emerged into the sunlight, he was smiling at her like she was the sun itself. She'd come here for revenge. She'd planned this whole thing as a way to hurt the man who'd hurt her. But somewhere between strategy and reality, between revenge and love, she'd found something she never expected. Herself. Whole again, healed by time and truth, and a love that was real in ways her marriage never had been. Ready? Julian asked, offering his hand. Ready, Elena agreed, taking it. Behind them, the courthouse doors closed on her past. Ahead of them, the future waited, uncertain but bright. And for the first time in 5 years, Elena wasn't afraid of what came next. Because revenge, she'd learned, wasn't about destroying someone else. It was about refusing to let their betrayal destroy you. It was about rising from the ashes and building something better from the ruins. And with Julian's hand in hers, that's exactly what she intended to do. The best revenge, after all, wasn't making Marcus suffer. It was being happy despite him. It was finding real love after false love had tried to break her. It was proving that his betrayal didn't define her future. It was choosing to heal instead of hate, to love instead of destroy, to build instead of burn. And as Elena and Julian walked into their future together, she realized that the woman Marcus had betrayed was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who understood that the greatest revenge of all was simply living well, loving well, and never looking back.